Health and Human Services Aging Committee to order Wednesday, April 2. Cuyahoga County Administrative Headquarters, CL and Connolly Council Chambers, 4th floor. It is 1 p.m. Madam Clerk, would you please call the roll?
As a reminder to all in attendance, this meeting is being recorded and live streamed on the county's YouTube page. Calling the roll, Ms. Conwell. Ms. Conwell is absent. Mr. Sweeney?
Present.
Mr. Castleberry?
Here.
Mr. Schlepper?
Here.
Mr. Hauser?
Here.
And let the record reflect that Council President Miller is also in attendance. You have a quorum.
Thank you very much. Is there public comment, Madam Clerk?
No, Mr. Vice Chair, no one has signed in.
You can, how about acting chair? I'm just kidding. Approval of minutes for the March 19th, 2025 meeting. Do I have a motion?
Second.
Thank you. There's been a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, the minutes are approved. We have one matter referred to the committee, and we have a presentation. However, I learned very recently that the presentation will be held for a future opportunity to be presented to this committee. So please proceed, Madam Clerk.
Resolution 2025-0129, authorizing an amendment to a contract with the Lutheran Metropolitan Ministry for operations and case management services for a 400-bed men's emergency shelter located at 2100 Lakeside Avenue, Cleveland, and for facilitation and coordination of overflow shelter services for single adults and families at various locations for the period January 1st, 2023 through December 31st, 2024, to extend the time period to October 31st, 2025, update Exhibit 3 to include Exhibits 3D budget, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $4,591,000, effective upon contract signature of all parties.
Welcome, Director.
Welcome. Good afternoon, David Merriman here on behalf of the Department of Health and Human Services. In a second, I'll invite Marcos Cortez to come up in addition to his normal role, presenting the item on behalf of the Department of Contract Administration, Division of Contract Administration Performance. He's also the Acting Director of Homeless Services, so he'll be sharing more detail on this project. I do also know that Allison Gill and Aaron Raridan are also here from the Office of Homeless Services if there are detailed questions that Marcos may need to draw them up. And lastly, Michael Searing and Aaron from Luther Metro Ministry are also here. So we're here today to present the men's shelter as well as overflow. And just want to take a second and acknowledge the great job that LMM is doing. This is the first year in my experience that we have not needed to use overflow for men. And in the past, that was an off-site facility when there was simply too many men to fit within 2100. With the expansion of 2020 Lakeside, we're able to serve everybody that showed up. And to my knowledge, we haven't had a day where we've been beyond capacity. So I think there's progress to be recognized. I also just want to acknowledge that we are working very closely with the city to address the unsheltered homeless, and we'll be having some follow-up conversations with the community to talk about seasonal shelter. So I think there's a lot of work to come. It's not why we're here today. We're here today on really the marquee service from my experience, which is the men's emergency shelter and some of the ancillary supportive services that follow it. So I'm going to invite Marcos up to share an overview.
You thanked everybody, but didn't recognize yourself.
Oh,
Because
I have a small role.
this is a game plan that was on paper. It was an issue that needed to be addressed. And guess what? With your partners, they got addressed, and we're going to continue doing that. So I just thought I'd share that from my perspective.
Thank you. Appreciate that. We are a team, and I know we have the team includes council. You've been great supporters, so we're doing this together. Thank you.
Mr. Acting Director, I like that title.
Good afternoon. Again, Marcos Cortez with the Office of Homeless Services. And I do want to thank Director Merriman on his leadership while I have been working in this role. But again, as you heard, this is an amendment with Luther Metropolitan Ministries for the emergency men's shelter located at 2100 Lakeside. LMM provides shelter services, they provide meals, they provide access to laundry and showers, and they provide additional services to link men with employment and housing, as well as other social services programs. And these services are provided 365 days a year for these men. And as you heard, they also provide overflow, but we haven't had to use that because of the good management by LMM. And I also want to thank LMM for their partnerships and their patience as this contract has worked its way through. And we do have Michael Searing here and Aaron Cray from LMM who can answer more specifically about the program itself.
Thank you. Could you just tell us why the extended time period? It just seems like it was originally 24, now it's 25 just for paperwork, or is it?
So we are adding an additional year, actually in this situation, about 10 months, just because of the funding availability. We do intend on coming back to amend this contract to extend it per Councilwoman Conwell's request that contracts that end at the end of the year be extended through March 31st. So we'll be coming back with additional funds and for time, probably in a couple or so months.
Just makes it easier for the flow.
Yes.
Well, thank you, Assistant Director. Now, Michael can come on up. And his teammate.
Yes. Hello, Michael Searing. I'm Chief Program Officer for Lutheran Metro Ministry. Glad to be here.
Hello, everyone. I'm Erin Cray, Director of Housing and Shelter at LMM.
So I would just like to thank the county for the funding and partnership. The comments made by our previous two partners were completely accurate. The addition of the 2020 portion of, we still call it, 2100, the shelter campus, if you will, has been awesome. I know many of you have been there to see it. The guys love it. It's a much better space, and the addition of those beds have really served the purpose that we were seeking, not to need the external overflow. We do work in partnership with our other shelter partners who actually currently need some more space now, so we facilitated transportation in that. So that's still working well. Our main goal, as said, to make sure we have enough shelter beds for everyone, continue to have county and city commitment to that for everyone who needs a bed, and then as fast as possible get people into housing. So those are our main goals. So I'm not sure if there's any questions.
Well, thank you. How about a brief description? Because I remember when it was 2020 was on paper, it's a lot better. They got to just tell me, is it 4-door room, 1 bed, how much better it is in comparison to 2100 in regards to quality of life stuff, maybe?
Yeah, definitely. It is, say, approximately a third of our total beds, and each little section, semi-enclosure, maybe a pod, if you will. Most of them are 2 beds in one of these little sections. They include lockers and chargers, a power outlet, especially helpful for people with breathing machines and the like. There are a few of them that are quads, and also some for people with disabilities, a lot better access. People come in with their wheelchair, getting fit in their area. We're also looking forward to the plans with Office of Homeless Services and Public Works for those remaining ARPA dollars to do improvements to the 2100 side next.
Which needs a little bit of improvement.
It does.
Thank you. Any questions? Yes. Mr. President, Dale A. Miller.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And my question is just whether this program is entirely federally funded, or are there other funding sources?
Yes, our budget, so the county funds make up, I'm sorry, are you asking specifically about where the county dollars are levy dollars? For operation of 2100, or maybe Marcos could add to this, we do have other funding sources as well.
This contract is 100% funded by levy dollars.
Okay, levy dollars. Okay. No federal funding on this.
None.
Okay.
Any other questions?
I had a question, if I may, through the chair.
Mr. Chairman, the floor is yours.
I just had a question. First of all, thank you both for being here. I really appreciate the work that you've done and continue to do. So can you just share a little bit about some of the increases over the last couple of years? Have you seen a growth in the need for beds? Has it decreased? My guess is that it has increased. And what do you attribute those increases to?
Yeah, that's a great question. So a few things on that. One is that during COVID, the numbers went dramatically down, maybe, by close to half. So as they've been coming up and people talk about, oh, homelessness is increasing, and indeed it is, we're just now getting to around where it was pre-COVID. This is for our singles. I think that some of the things that were really helpful during COVID were like the eviction moratorium, lots more of rental assistance for people. So it was less people coming in and more people getting out. So without those, I think those are contributing also. Yeah.
So it's almost like a boomerang effect. It sounds like it's kind of come back to status quo after COVID. Thank you
Yes.
very much.
Any other questions?
If I could
Oh,
add to that point,
thank you.
I think what we see naturally, first, Councilman to the chair, through the chair, about 16% come to coordinated entry from outside of our jurisdiction, from other counties, other cities, other states. So we do know that there is an inflow of residents. This is not just to the men's shelter, this is to all shelters. Anecdotally, you hear about high-profile cases, people getting off buses from out of state. But, you know, I think it's more complicated. There are people that come from the broader region because we do have, what I've heard of is, I think, an effective shelter system. And we don't turn people away. Staff always figure out an option. And I think the work that they do to try to make this space as habitable, as humane, and as respectful as possible ends up sort of demonstrating the value we place in these people's lives. So I do think that draws people. And I also just want to acknowledge there are many new council members that may have not seen the shelter. I'd like to suggest at some point we organize a tour, have you see the existing shelter as well as the renovated space. Some folks were able to come out to see the renovated space. It's impressive. And I think that's what we want to track. So it's something we'll work on, making sure there's some opportunity for all council members to get their eyes on the as-is and the to-be. Thank you.
Thank you, Director. Annie, what's your first name?
Aaron.
Aaron, my bad. My hearing's not as great.
It's okay.
Thanks for coming out. Let's hear what you want to say.
Yeah, I can just add to some of the trends and census that we've seen. There seems to be more people nightly lately than previously, but we still have less overall in a calendar year than previous years. And so it seems to be people are staying longer. So our length of stay is a little bit longer than pre-COVID. We've had like slightly upward trends year after year. Still not back to pre-COVID numbers, but we're watching it closely.
Aaron, thank you very much. You said nighttime is, I know there's a morning time where the individuals leave the building. Is there a nighttime cutoff? And what time is the morning?
Yeah, so about 3/4 of our folks can stay in all day, and then about 1/4 of them are accessing services as emergency beds only. So they come in at 3 and they leave after breakfast, so around 7:30 in the morning.
And if someone comes at 9, knocks on the door, what happens?
Everybody can come in.
They can come in just through the front door and then process.
That's correct. Yeah, we have a buzzing in system after dinner time. So people will buzz in and then we'll allow them in. But there's not a time of night that they cannot come through.
Sounds good. And just for process purposes, and if some folks are listening, what do they need to be allowed to enter? So some folks may not have much of an idea or.
Yeah, we're a low barrier shelter, so people do not need anything except to be 18 and older and able to live in community. So they have to be medically able to, ambulate and be continent, and there's some mental illness that may be a little bit higher need, but generally most people are able to be served by us, and you do not need an ID.
Thank you very much, Aaron. You did wonderful, filling me in a little bit more. Any questions for either one of these two? Hearing none, let's get the homeless folks up here, because they came down, and this is the only piece of legislation, and we'll keep each other here for another 4 minutes. Hello, ladies. Nice seeing you again.
Hello, nice to see you too, and thank you for inviting us up here. Allison Gill with the Office of Homeless Services.
Erin Reardon with the Office of Homeless Services.
Tell me some stuff.
Well, I mean, we think LMM does a great job. They have for years. I've been with the office since 2010. And I think it's especially important to recognize all the work done during the pandemic, which was probably the most challenging time for our system, to be completely honest. But they do a great job serving the individuals that they serve, and especially linking individuals with housing. They're a great partner.
Thank you very much. You don't have to.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't really think I have anything else to add beyond what Allison and Director Merriman and Marcos has already said, and LMM as well.
Your presence here speaks volumes. And just on the LMN stuff, I've been here 4 years. They do great work. But they get beat up a little bit because it's always the competitive funding and this and that. And this is just an example of many ways they're very helpful. And it's kind of tough and just a reflection here, and I'm just doing it because you're in front of me. The folks that help the most, right, for the greater good, have to ask or beg the most to get our money. So I'm just highlighting that as we only have so much in the priorities and the homeless and the kids and whatever else. But when you have the cream of the crop, they stand out, and they should be taken very seriously when they ask for a dollar amount. I know they're not trying to get any more than they need, and they're probably asking for less and make up for it by their hard work. Would you agree to something like that?
Absolutely. Absolutely agree with that.
And I will say also that LMM has always been willing to kind of to step up when we've needed things. You know, when we needed them to help with the family overflow, when we needed them to help with transportation for women's overflow. They've always kind of been willing to step up and been willing to kind of think outside the box, and so we appreciate their partnership.
They figure it out. And the boss is super cool too, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Okay, anything else? Hearing none. I'd like to have a motion for R 2025-0129.
Excuse me, could we ask that this be approved upon second reading suspension?
Are you kidding me? Absolutely.
Thank you.
R 2025-0129 has been requested by the administration to be passed second reading or suspension. Is there a motion?
So moved.
There's a second, there's a motion and a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none. Resolution 2025-0129 stands approved. And just throw my name on it because this is such a cool one. Thank you. Thank you. Okay. Is there any miscellaneous business? Just picking on Dale for half a second. Hearing none, this
No.
meeting. Oh, okay, Council President.
I have some miscellaneous business.
I look forward to it.
I just want to commend the chair for doing an excellent job at filling in on short notice at today's committee meeting.
And thank you, and that's a little sarcastic, because earlier today, he commended Councilman Castleberry on his great work, and I said he's never done that to me, so he made up for it right now. And I truly do appreciate that. I'm going to go home and tell my entire family. Well, with that being said, the meeting is adjourned. This is fun.